Are you too nice? I mean, do you find yourself constantly giving, constantly bending over backward for other people, only to feel totally exhausted and, if you're being honest, a little bit resentful at the end of the day? Well, let's get into this because today we are decoding a whole psychological operating system. We're about to hold up a mirror. And for a lot of you listening right now, what you're about to see is going to feel, yeah, probably uncomfortably familiar. So let's just start with a quick gut check question. Be honest, when you do something kind for someone, is there a little part of you way deep down that's kind of keeping score? A part that's expecting something back, even if you would never ever say it out loud? Okay, let's look at the three big habits. First, you are a master of what we call the covert contract. You'll move mountains for someone all while secretly thinking, okay, I did this for you, so you owe me one. The problem is, they have no idea they even signed this contract, right? Second, conflict feels, well, it feels like a physical threat. You would much rather swallow your own feelings, just push them down, than risk having someone upset with you. And third, you live with this quiet belief that you're just one more perfect act away from finally securing love and safety forever. It's just an absolutely exhausting way to live. If you were just nodding along to all of this, please listen very closely to what I'm about to say. You are not broken. You're not manipulative. You're not weak. Your brain is simply wired with an extremely sensitive alarm system for social rejection. Seriously, think of it as a feature, not a bug. And we're about to look at the wiring diagram. So, what is actually happening inside your head that makes you this way? I mean, why does the mere thought of someone being disappointed in you feel so catastrophic? Well, the answer isn't in your personality, it's in your brain's hardware. I want you to meet a part of your brain called the DACC, or the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. Let's just call it your brain's built-in social pain alarm. It's like a smoke detector for your social life. Now, in most people, it goes off when there's a real fire, a huge betrayal or something. But for you, that alarm is extra sensitive. It can get triggered by a tiny shift in someone's tone of voice, an unreturned text, or even just the possibility of a conflict down the road. It's constantly scanning for threats to your social bonds. And here is the most incredible discovery in this whole field. Neuroscientists put people in brain scanners, and they found that this part of the brain, the DAC, doesn't just light up when you feel physical pain, like touching a hot stove. It lights up in the exact same way when you feel the social pain of being rejected. Just let that sink in for a second. To your brain, a broken heart can feel exactly like a broken bone. That feeling is not all in your head. It's a real, measurable event happening in your brain. So why on earth would our brains evolve like this? Well, it actually makes perfect sense. Because for our ancient ancestors, getting kicked out of the tribe wasn't just embarrassing. It was a literal death sentence. If you were alone, you were toast. You were vulnerable to predators, to starvation, the whole shebang. So that highly sensitive social alarm wasn't a flaw. It was a life-saving survival mechanism that screamed, do whatever it takes to stay connected. Your niceness today is just an echo of that ancient survival instinct. Okay, so we've looked at the hardware, we've looked at where it came from, but here's the thing. This sensitivity, this constant scanning of your social environment, it isn't just a source of anxiety. It is also the source of some pretty incredible and often totally overlooked superpowers. This is exactly where your so-called weakness becomes your greatest strength. First off, you basically have a PhD in empathy. Because you are so tuned in to social pain, you don't just hear what people say, you feel what they mean. You can walk into a room and instantly take the emotional temperature. Second, you are a natural diplomat. Your deep, deep aversion to conflict means you see paths to compromise that other people, who are blinded by their own egos, just completely miss. You are the one who quietly finds the win-win for everyone. And third, you are an observational genius. All that constant scanning for social cues means you pick up on the subtle, unspoken dynamics that fly right over everyone else's heads. You always know the real story, not just the one people are telling. But let's be real, these superpowers, they come with the shadow side. They come at a cost. Because when this whole system gets stuck in overdrive, it can create patterns that end up sabotaging the very connections you're trying so hard to create. This quote from Dr. Robert Glover, who wrote the book No More Mr. Nice Guy, just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that confusion people feel when they're with a chronic people pleaser. You're so giving, so wonderful, so accommodating, until suddenly you're not. And that switch is so jarring and confusing because to them, it seems to come out of absolutely nowhere. But that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing, it's not random. It's a totally predictable cycle that Dr. Glover calls the victim triangle. Here's how it works. Step 1. You give and you give and you give, all based on that secret contract. Step 2. When the other person, who has no idea this contract exists, fails to read your mind and repay you, resentment starts to build up. You're keeping this silent scorecard, and they're failing miserably. And then, step 3, that resentment spills out. Maybe it's a sarcastic comment, or the silent treatment, or a huge, explosive argument that seems completely out of proportion to what just happened. And then, of course, you feel guilty, and the whole cycle starts right back up again. And here is the truly painful irony in all of this. The entire strategy, the giving, the peacekeeping, the hiding your flaws, it's all designed to guarantee love and avoid abandonment. But that victim triangle it creates, the resentment, the passive aggression, it actually pushes people away. It sabotages the very relationships you value the most. So what do you do about it? Look, the goal here is not to fix you. You can't just rip out that sensitive alarm system, and you wouldn't want to. The goal is to give you a user manual for your specific brain so you can start to operate it with intention instead of letting it operate you. Okay, rule number 1 is an absolute game changer. You have to ditch the covert contracts. Stop giving with all these invisible strings attached. If you need something, help, appreciation, whatever, ask for it directly. I know it's scary. It feels really vulnerable. But making a direct, honest request is an act of integrity. It replaces manipulation with clarity, and that is where your real power is. Rule number 2, your needs are not an inconvenience. They are a reality. And making your own needs a priority isn't selfish. It is the absolute prerequisite for being genuinely kind. Think about it. When you give from a full tank without expecting anything in return, your generosity is a true gift, not just a down payment on a secret deal. You have to fill your own bucket first. And finally, rule number 3, you have to set boundaries. Now, a boundary isn't a wall you build to keep people out. It's just a line you draw that teaches people how to be in a healthy relationship with you. Saying no, or that doesn't work for me, feels terrifying at first, I get it. But it's an act of self-respect. And here's the beautiful part. Healthy people will respect you for it. Unhealthy people, the ones who are benefiting from you not having boundaries, they'll get angry. And that right there is a gift. It reveals exactly who shouldn't be in your life. So, I want to leave you with this question. Just imagine all the energy you spend trying to anticipate needs, trying to avoid conflict, trying to manage everyone else's emotions. Now, what would happen if you took just half of that energy and turned it inward, toward figuring out what you actually want, asking for it, and building a life that is authentically yours? What could you create then? If this explainer made you feel seen, if you felt understood, make sure you're following the explainer. We're always sharing new insights to help you decode yourself and the world around you. Thanks for listening.